move on to the next topic, which is the human transport system. Okay, so this is what you need to know in human transport system. You must recognize that air is a mixture of gases such as nitrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and water vapor. So you need to know the composition of air, okay, around us. The air around us consists of what kind of gases? And you must be able to identify the organs of the human respiratory system and the circulatory system and describe the functions. You need to know the organs of the human respiratory system and the circulatory system and describe the functions. You must be able to recognize the integration of the different systems, the digestive system, the respiratory system, and the circulatory system in carrying out life processes. And you must be able to compare how plants, fish, and mammals take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Okay, compare the ways in which nutrients, water, and oxygen are transported within the plants and humans. So you must be able to compare the difference between the transport system in plants and in humans. Okay. Now let's take a look at the air and the human respiratory system. Right? Now, what is the composition of air? Okay, living things can survive on Earth because it has air. Okay, they are not able to survive in other planets, okay, because there is no air or the air there is not suitable for human. Okay, so air contains various types of gases. So if you look at the composition of air here, nitrogen has the largest percentage, followed by oxygen, 21%, and followed by carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases makes up the 1%. Okay, so the air is made up of largest amount nitrogen, followed by oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and gases. Okay, air. Now, oxygen, living things on land and in water need oxygen to stay alive. Living things on land and in water needs oxygen to stay alive. Now, carbon dioxide is given out by living things when they carry out their daily activities. Okay, it is also taken in by the plants to make food in the presence of light during the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so humans, animals, during respiration, we give out carbon dioxide. But this carbon dioxide is being taken in by the plants in the process of photosynthesis. So you can see there is a nice relationship between the plants and humans and animals. That is why when we learn under the topic of man impacts on the environment, when there is massive deforestation, so there will be imbalance in the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the air, in the atmosphere. Okay, so the respiratory system. Let's take a look at the respiratory system. Our bodies take in air so that we can get the oxygen we need to survive. We need oxygen to survive. Human, animals need oxygen to survive. The process by which air enters and leaves our body is called breathing. So take note here, when we breathe, we do not breathe only oxygen. Okay, we breathe in air. Okay, why? Because the air that we breathe in not only contains oxygen, but it contains other gases like nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and other gases that may be present around us at that point of time. So breathing is carried out in the body with the help of the respiratory system. Now let's take a look at the respiratory system. Okay, Faiz, you can hear me? Ivana, you cannot hear? You sure? Okay, rest of you, can you hear me clearly? You can hear me? Okay, so you can see that. Most likely it has to do with your, with your internet connection. Okay, trying to do something about it. Okay, if you are using Wi-Fi and so on. Okay, so try to be closer to the router. All right. Yeah, so the respiratory system is made up of the nose, windpipe, and the lungs. So the nose here, right? The windpipe, okay? Between the nose and the lungs, we have a windpipe, and the lungs here. So other parts of the respiratory system, like the hair in the nostrils and the air tubes, are also essential for the system to work efficiently. So for your syllabus, primary school syllabus, the respiratory system, very simple. You just need to know three parts: the nose, the windpipe, and the lungs. Of course, the system is much more complicated than that. Right? So if if you are learning science or biology at secondary school, JC, or university, okay, you will learn the the different kinds of parts, the different kinds of parts. So the air is taken into and removed from the body through the nose. So air is taken into and removed from the body through the nose. The hairs in the nostrils help to remove the dirt and dust that is in the air. Okay, so the hair in the nostril is also very useful. It has a certain function. Not that it is not useful. So this helps to ensure that the air we breathe in is clean and free of dust. Okay. So the air that moves down through the windpipe, okay, the air from the nose, and then it moves down through the windpipe. The windpipe branches into two air tubes, and the windpipe and the air tube transport the air to and from the lungs. So that is how the air enters through the nose, from the nose to the windpipe, and to the windpipe. Okay, there are two tubes here which goes to the lungs. Now each air tube leads to one of the lungs. Okay, when oxygen in the inhaled air reaches the lung, it is absorbed into the blood. Okay, so when the oxygen in the inhaled air reaches the lung, the oxygen is absorbed into the blood and transported to all parts of the body. So we breathe in air. So when the air reaches the lungs, the oxygen is absorbed into the body, in the lungs, and transported to all parts of the body. And the carbon dioxide is also transported by the blood to the lungs. Okay, so it is then removed from the body during breathing. So likewise here, okay, the oxygen is taken in, okay, through the lungs and transported, okay, in the circulatory system through the blood. Okay, later on, we will learn more about the circulatory system, how the oxygen goes around our body. Okay, and then the carbon dioxide goes back to the lungs, and we breathe out the carbon dioxide through the nose. Now, our breathing rate, what does breathing rate means? Breathing rate is the number of times we breathe in 1 minute. All right, breathing rate is the number of times we breathe in 1 minute. So you can take a look. This is the breathing rate, okay, of the it depends on your age as well as the type of activity. So if you are running, for example, you breathe faster, your breathing rate is faster. Right? So when you're resting, you're sitting down, your breathing rate is much slower. Okay. Now infants, for children, the breathing rate tend to be faster as compared to adults. So you can see here, as we grow older, okay, the breathing rate is slower. Now, how do fish breathe? Fish take in oxygen in water through their gills. So fish, how are fish able to survive in water? So different from humans. So what happens in water? Water contains dissolved oxygen. Okay, water contains dissolved oxygen. So the water which contains dissolved oxygen enters a fish through the mouth, okay, through the mouth of the fish here, and then passes through the gills. Okay, so this is the gills of the fish. Okay, so the water containing dissolved oxygen enters a fish through the mouth and then passes through the gills. Okay, what happened then? The oxygen in the water, right? The oxygen which is in the water is absorbed into the blood in the gills and transported to the different parts of the fish. So you can see here, this breathing takes place as the fish moves around the water. So as the fish moves around the water, the water gets into the mouth, and then goes into the gills, and then the dissolved oxygen is being absorbed into the blood in the gills and transported to the different parts of the fish. Now, at the same time, also the carbon dioxide leaves the blood in the gills and enters back the water. At the same time, the carbon dioxide leaves the blood in the gills and enters the water. So the carbon dioxide in the water is removed when the water leaves the fish from under the gills cover. Okay. Now, what happened to the exchange of gases in plants? Plants, like all living things, take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So during photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. So during photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. Where this happens, the exchange of gases happen. It happens in the leaves. Okay. They also use some of the oxygen produced to stay alive in the process of respiration. So this exchange of gases takes place through the tiny openings found on the leaves of the plant, which is called the stomata. Okay, question. When does respiration takes place and when does photosynthesis takes place? Anyone? Okay, anyone can tell us when does respiration takes place and when does photosynthesis takes place in plants? Okay, Zafir say that. Okay, what takes place at night? Is it respiration or photosynthesis? Photosynthesis in the day. Okay, Dana says that photosynthesis takes place in the day. And Amy says that respiration takes place at night. Okay, all right. So I see a lot of misconception here. Okay, I've emphasized quite a lot of times in my class. Okay, this is a very, very common misconception. Now, many students, this is what they think. This is what they understand. Many students say that photosynthesis takes place in the day and respiration takes place at night. This is wrong. Okay, this is very, very wrong. I repeat again. Many students say that photosynthesis takes place in the day and respiration takes place at night. This is wrong, right? Why? Because respiration takes place all the time. Okay, respiration takes place all the time because respiration is the life processes of the plants. Plant needs to be alive all the time. So that is why it needs to respire all the time. Right? So respiration takes place all the time in plants, just like in humans. Okay, plants take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide in the process of respiration at all times. But in the process of photosynthesis, photosynthesis is the place where plants make food. Okay, so when do they make food? They can only make food in the presence of light. All right, they can make food in the presence of light. So that doesn't mean that it can only make food in the day. But although we know that if let's say in the forest, the day is where the light, the sunlight is. So usually they take place in the day. But if there are light present at night, in the evening, photosynthesis also can take place. So basically you cannot say that, photosynthesis takes place in the day, respiration takes place at night. So respiration takes place all the time. Photosynthesis takes place when there is a presence of light. Okay, I hope you are very clear now. Okay, Sarah asks, what is respiration? Respiration is the process in which the plants take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Okay, and this is a life process. The plants to survive, to live, all living things need to respire. Okay, Rene asks, does photosynthesis and respiration take place at the same time? Yes. Okay, in the presence of light, respiration and photosynthesis takes place at the same time. Okay. Now, some of you may be asking, teacher, then what happened to the stomata? Wouldn't the stomata be, confused? Are they taking in carbon dioxide or taking in oxygen? Okay. So they are. Okay. If you learn further later in secondary school, JC, university, okay, inside of the leaf is not so straightforward. Okay, as just a different stomata. but they consist of many tiny tubes, okay, where respiration, okay, and photosynthesis can take place together. Okay, so you want to know more, you can find out from the internet. You can Google. Right? So exchange of gases. So the tiny opening found in the leaves of the plants are known as stomata. So this is stomata under the very powerful microscope. Okay. Now during the day, when there is more light, the stomata open. So when there's presence of more light, the stomata will open. Why? Because this will allow more carbon dioxide to enter the leaves in order for the plant to make food. So during the day, the stomata will open more. When there's more light, it will open bigger. Why? So that it allows more carbon dioxide to enter the leaves so that the plant can make more food. Okay? Now, water vapor is also released into the surrounding through the stomata. Okay? Water vapor is also released into the surrounding through the stomata. So the function of the stomata is not only for the exchange of gases, but it also serves as the release of water vapor into the surrounding. All right. So the leaf is where plant loses water. Okay, we know that plants takes in water through the roots, okay, but it has to give out water through the stomata. Just like humans, okay, we give out water through sweating or in the toilet. But for leaves, okay, for plants, they take in water through the roots and give out water in the form of water vapor through the stomata. Right, so the stomata will close when there is less light or when the weather is too hot. Okay, so this is a kind of adaptation. The stomata will close when there's less light, because when there's less light, less photosynthesis, and when the weather is too hot, so that the plant will not lose too much water. We know that if the plant lose too much water, then it will wilt and it will die, especially in the weather where water is very little or very scarce, like the desert. Okay, thus less exchange of gases will take place and less water vapor will be lost through the leaves of the plants. Now let's recap. The air around us is made up of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases. And the human respiratory system consists of the nose, the windpipe, and the lungs. Okay, and the fish uses gills to take in oxygen from the water and remove carbon dioxide from their bodies. The tiny opening on the leaves of the plant helps carry out gases exchange between the plants and the surrounding, and also to give out water vapor. Okay.